Hinduism, Buddhism, African traditional religion, and many other religious movements within the society. Hence, when you are referring about the role of faith communities, we are not necessarily exclusive by focusing on churches in our setup, but faith community, it cuts across various groupings. Why? Because a faith community refers to a group of people of any size that live near each other and follow the same religious traditions or faith. It can be Christianity, it can be Baha'i faith, it may be in our setup African traditional religion. And at definitional level here, when we say who live near each other, we are not necessarily talk of the physical. We are understanding we now we have the digital community. Someone may be in UK or in Canada, but on Friday or Saturday, when we are gathering as a religious, as a faith community, we may be within the same digital space. So here, when we talk of living near each other, we are not talking of the physical. Yes, it applies, but we also talk of the spaces are limited by the modern communication systems where people may Zoom, maybe within the same space, digitally, discussing about their faith or participating in various religious tradition or faith. So many people within the world belong to a particular faith community. A faith community is simply the same, is a group of people who believe the same thing as each other about God or about the supernatural or about a particular religious traditions. In faith communities, in many setups, they've got various symbols or items that show or that represents what they believe in. So at certain level, my emphasis on faith communities, let's see it from a holistic point where we are talking about human and natural systems in response to actual expected climate stimuli or their effects, and how best we can moderate the harm or exploit the beneficial opportunities. We need to talk of adaptation in the context also of mitigation, because these they cannot exist independent of each other. But in this setup today, we are simply emphasizing on adaptation. But we need to say adaptation. On the other side, there is mitigation. But the emphasis of this particular presentation will be on adaptation, on how best we can moderate the harm. How can we adjust? Because some of the changes which are being caused by climate change, they are beyond our control. For example, when we talk about greenhouse emissions, you may realize our side here, south of the Sahara, we contribute less than 2% or so. And that 2% is mostly South Africa. If you follow the measurement, it's mostly South Africa. Zimbabwe and many other, because our industry is so minute, we are not really the key contributors, but we are the key recipients of the effects of climate change. So it also refers, when I'm talking about adaptation, to the processes, practices, and structures to moderate potential damage to benefit from opportunities associated with the climate change. Adaptation is also about reducing vulnerability to climate change impacts to reduce the losses. How best can we reduce the losses caused by climate change? For example, when we talk about irrigation, there is drought, it's true, but there's still lots of underground water. How best can we use the underground water to deal with the climate? For example, the drought which we are having currently south of the Sahara in most parts of, um, of Africa. And I just highlighted a bit of some of the adaptations options, just a summary of them. How best, generally, the discussions around adaptation are about altering cultivation and sowing times, drought-resistant crops. These are generic terms which we have heard in the media and in most discussions about adaptation. But we realize that despite the knowledge of some of these aspects on adaptation, our communities have not yet adjusted in terms of attitude. We may know that in Masvingo, it's in region, some in region 4, some 5, etc. But still people will plant maize. It's because of tradition. They will still plant maize. Mukavati varime mapfunde, they've been planting maize since 60s or 70s. They know very well, but they will